Okay, this is a window motor out of a 92 Ford Escort. It was all jammed up. Or not window motor, I'm sorry. Seatbelt motor. This is a seatbelt motor out of a 92 Ford Escort. Alright, here's the motor. I've already torn it apart. It was jammed up. Yeah, so the seat buckle here. Alright, what had happened is it got dried out, gummed up, and it jammed up in this corner here. The cable did. It bound up. It got wedged. I split it here. Split this here. I'm going to pull this bolt out. I got this bolt in here to squeeze it back together. Then I pinched it down most of the way to the vice grips. You got to knock these pins out. There's one here, and one here. There's a screw on the back side of this. Holds this cable here. Phillips head screw. And allows this to separate. I couldn't get this disconnected, so I didn't worry about it. Still taped together. I visually checked it, made sure there was no cracks. And this plastic tubing goes down to here. Disconnected this here. Once you disconnect these here, you need to take this snap ring off first. You need a pair of these. Take the snap ring off. Take the snap ring off. Pull the screws, and this whole thing will lift right up. You'll have to reset it all. But what I did is I extended the cable out fully all the way, stretching the cable out of the casing. Once I disconnected this, the motor isn't seized that I know of, that I'm aware of. It was hot. It just quit working today, so that's why I tore it apart immediately. I'll try to show you how I took it out when I put it back in. It wasn't actually too bad. It was pretty simple. Let's see. So anyways, I extended the cable out as far as I could. I had to get in here, in this ledge here, and open it up with a flathead screwdriver, just to get it out. Once I got it out, I cleaned it. You can clean it with some carburetor cleaner, some WD-40, get all the gunk out of there. And then I went and bought a jug of this, anti-seize, lubricant. Ran it down in the end of it, snaked the line through a couple times. After I squished this back into shape, this casing, this was split off at the time. So I ran it through, got it greased up, and I just squeezed it down. I squeezed it down all the way to where it wouldn't fit in the end, and then I just slowly opened the end of it with a screwdriver. And as I pushed it in where it would hang up, I would just open it just a little bit, enough to let it go through. And I did that, of course, with a flathead screwdriver, and pinching it shut with the vice grips. And we're going to be putting it in and see if it works. And if it works, it's an easy fix. Well, it's not an easy fix, but it's a cheap fix. Tried to find parts for it. I didn't check at the boneyard because the boneyard's not open, but no auto parts had this. Alright. Okay, when you take this apart, you get on, feed this wire harness here. You pull this back, this prong here, away from this with a flathead screwdriver, and it pulls forward. And the wires feed through here. It bends around the back side and come up, or at least these two wires here, This one goes up here, and this one goes here. Follow this down. That's what goes to the motor. There's this other wire. This is what goes to the door sensor. It was all corroded, already snapped in half, but somehow it's still making a connection and still working. So I'm going to repair that when I put it back in. In other words, you got to take that sensor off. That's what I thought it was at first, because it was wanting to move the seatbelt retractor here. It wasn't really moving, but you could hear the motor clicking back and forth. And so the first thing I checked was like the door wasn't shutting all the way. I took the sensor off, and the end of this wire was all corroded. I just peeled this back and wrapped it around the plate, the little connector. I took the connector off, cleaned it up, wrapped it around that little sensor post, put the sensor back in, and tried it again. It still did the same thing, so that's when I just took it right out. But these wires are got to snap tight up in here so that the panel fits tight up against this, because there's an opening in the panel there to where you can get an Allen wrench in there and wind this by hand. And that's a good way to test your motor too. If you can wind this by hand, well, I do cheat a little bit. It's going to be a little stiff. It should be, I fit a 3/16 in there. I can't see it. Anyways, 3/16 fits in there. You can use like something like one of your 6-inch 3/8 drive extension. Use opening square end just for some leverage to twist it. And if you can twist it and move it, and it moves that there, then your thing isn't seized up real bad. It's workable to where you don't have to take it apart. You can just get a bunch of lubricant in there, and you probably throw it in right on the side where usually the lock position is, and it should run down into that line. I would kind of stay away from WD-40 because it's too liquidy. But if you can get some grease to where it can work up and down through here, and eventually it'll end up down in here. Yeah, that's, if you can move it, I can move it when it's all freed out. But if you pull that panel away, you can block onto it with the short end of this. That's why I need leverage. With that panel on there, you end up having to use the one end, unless you've got a socket. You got one of these cut or something, stick it in a socket, and you can actually use a ratchet and get it down in there. That'll just give you a little bit more leverage with a ratchet handle. I don't have any of these on a socket. Fits on a ratchet that is real long, but you can always custom make them. I do it when I have to. When I break them for doing brakes, you usually need 3/8 Allen head for the GM caliper. Alright, let's get it put back inside. Hey, I didn't show how to take it out, so I'm going to show you guys how to put it back in. This is what it looks like.
I'll let Manny
pulled out.
I don't really want cameras.
Alright, we're going to install this back in. So the only thing I'm doing is going backwards from the way I pulled it out.
Here we go.
Alright, there's this hook here.
Yeah.
It hooks up into this notch over here.
Okay.
One notch. There we go, that looks a little better.
I'll be darned. This is neat, dude.
Right there. And every bolt I ran across was a 10 millimeter, except for the bottom motor bolt.
Do you get reviews, dude?
Yeah.
On your paints and stuff?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Oop, I know where I messed up.
You gotta go behind there.
This pin's get up in this wall.
This is just too cool, dude. I feel like a photographer, dude.
Now this one here has got a locker ring behind it. I already set it in place to use this to squeeze it back together.
Okay.
Just like strip.
Too cool, dude. You already put a motor in it?
Huh?
Is there
Oh,
a
I
motor?
rebuilt it.
There's one in there as we speak.
That's what hangs off the end is the motor. I already rebuilt all this.
It's already in there.
Yep.
Oh my goodness,
Took it all
dude.
apart, took the motor out.
I can't wait to see it work.
I didn't videotape how to tear down the motor because a lot of people won't go that far.
I'm impressed.
All these clips on here, them are with the soft trim clips too. Clip right onto that. Seatbelt plate itself.
Hey, give her fill in the month. If
There's this clip here. This is one of the sensors that shows us
Okay.
in the unseatbelt position.
the other one,
one's still hooked up. I couldn't disconnect it. I left it hooked up.
I see. You know what? You're gonna be a professional one day. Heck, you already are.
Yeah. These are to fasten it.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Yep.
Alright, so we got this bolt. We got these lock washers that go behind it. Or threaded washers, I should say. What did I do with my Phillips head? I mean, you could use
That
a
is
socket
cool.
on it, but...
So what? Is there a little cable that brings that up, brother?
What it is it's plastic coated steel cable that goes through it. It's plastic coated.
In the middle. Okay.
Alright, this is just an extra coating because,
Okay.
well, you know how brake cables work on a bike.
Yeah.
Okay. You can go ahead and stop it. Alright, to feed that sensor wire down through, this is a sensor, door jam sensor, bolts in right there. Easiest thing to do is leave the motor unbolted to help you be able to get by it and feed that wire down through there. It's way down in there. That and earlier, we're talking about the lock washers behind there. Oops, and I dropped it again. Well, I found the other one. I guess there was two of them, but it dropped when I was taking it apart. That's what they look like. I ain't worried about putting it back in because it basically flattens back out and holds tight against there. Yeah, I got that sensor put back in. Threw a little of the NICs on that button so it quit sticking. It was sticking when I was pulling it out. But we got that all put in. I said all these bolts were 10 millimeter, except for them ones there. You can use a Phillips head screwdriver, a little short nubby. That's what I have. And the only one that's different is this bottom bolt right there. And that you can either use a 16 millimeter or a 5/8. Okay, I got it back in, hooked it up, shut the door, and went back. That's where it stayed. The motor's too weak. I didn't catch it soon enough. But at least it's back to that position, the lock position. So I'm just going to put the soft trim back on and run it like that. I just unplugged it down in the wall there. Unplugged the connector. I'll just leave it like that.